Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the Starline by comedian, actor, writer, track coach, and developer of a dating app for boomers called Shingles Only. Man on the Pacific Northwest, Mount Rushmore of comedy. Laugh with his comedy special, I'm Not Done Yet. We welcome comedian Brad Upton.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Brad, let's go beyond the mic. The pandemic was horrible for comedians. Comedy clubs were closed everywhere. Everyone was doing Zoom shows. Did you do them? And if so, what was the worst experience you had during the pandemic?
I did 0 Zoom shows. When I first heard about those, I went, what? You do stand up in front of your laptop? That sounds horrible. So I turned them all down. And, my wife had a good job and stayed employed. So we were okay that way, but I just went, I can't do it. And then some guys figured out how to do it, and then some of them started making money, and I went, oh, maybe I should have been doing these. I can imagine, when you're telling jokes, if there's a slight delay to your joke, you immediately think, oh, they didn't get it, right? So, and there's always a slight delay on a laptop, so I'm glad I never did one.
Buffering, lots of buffering.
Exactly. But you know what? Everybody sitting at home doing nothing is how I helped me blow up on the internet.
How do you go from being a junior college track star to comedy?
That's not the natural progression, but I've been wanting to do it back then when I was in college and high school and in college and after college. I wanted to try stand up, and I was chicken and I was too far away from an open mic. It was early 80s, and I was living in Pasco, Washington, and the closest stage was Seattle, 200 miles away. So I just finally decided I want to go try it and do an open mic, and I did it, and it went well, and here I am.
Well, you were coaching high school track in 1984, got the itch to step on stage.
Right.
What was that first moment like stepping on to the stage?
No, that's exactly right, and it went the first time I got on stage, in the early 80s, comedy was so new and hot, and even at an open mic on Tuesday, there was a great crowd, and they were hot, and I killed. And the highest of highs, because I'd been wanting to do it for several years. I finally did it, and it went really well. Because, like you said, if I'd have gone up and bombed, I'm not sure I'd have ever stepped up there again. I probably would have said, oh, well, I guess it's not for me, but at least I tried.
200 miles just to get a laugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brad, what makes you laugh?
There's a lot of comedians that make me laugh. I'm known for clean comedy. There's a handful of dirty ones that make me laugh hard. It's just clever writing. I think clever writing makes me laugh. That's the trick in comedy, is you just don't see it and then see it coming, and then they spring it on you, and I appreciate that part of it. It's hard to make a comedian laugh, but I can do it. I can have people make me laugh.
After touring with Louis Black, Jeff Foxworthy, and Joan Rivers, among many other legends, who inspires you in comedy today?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a guy here in Seattle, Gabe Rutledge, who's a great comic. He's not real young, but he's younger than, he's 20 years younger than me, but he's a great comic. Gabe Rutledge out of here. Several of the guys around here. Dwayne Goad is a guy out of Seattle that makes me laugh hard. So that's the thing. I was doing a comedy a long time before I blew up, and people thought I was somebody new. I go, I've been around for a long time, and there's a lot of really good comedians in this country, and they're just not famous. Just like singers, there's a lot of great singers, and you think, why isn't this guy famous? Who knows? Didn't get a break. The right person didn't see him.
Brad Upton joins us beyond the mic. His latest comedy special is I'm Not Done Yet. It's time for the Rocking Aid. Hey, random questions, Brad. All you got to do is answer. But the first thing that comes to mind, there's no pressure.
Okay.
Best thing about Lake Forest Park, Washington?
Ooh, the lake, the forest, the park.
Favorite act to hear on the Grand Ole Opry stage?
Oh, that's a good one, too. Favorite act to hear? That'd have to be Garth.
Do you ever want to play dodgeball with your fourth graders just so you can nail the really annoying ones?
Oh, I did it.
You did it?
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. Me in the gym with a bunch of fourth graders.
Oh, my goodness.
I usually set it right over their head, real hard, right over their head, hard. So it hit the wall behind them. And then that was my favorite move.
You've done comedy on so many cruises. So
yeah.
Where is your favorite cruise port?
Oh, probably Dubrovnik, Croatia, Dubrovnik, Croatia. That would have to be the best one. And I think it's in Game of Thrones.
Wow.
That's the city in Game of Thrones, I believe.
Why was that your favorite?
it's just cool. It hasn't changed. I mean, it's a walled city, and everything inside the wall it probably looks identical that it did 500 years ago. The city is unchanged. It's really cool to walk through there. There's no cars. It's a walled city, so there's no cars. If somebody came back from 500 years ago walking through that town, they'd know exactly where they were.
Brad, what's the best thing about your kids?
My 2 kids, they're good kids. They're really nice human beings.
Is there anything better in the world than scotch and red vines?
Oh, that's a good combo. Sometimes, you know what else? Scotch and graham crackers. That's a good one too.
Haven't done that yet.
Whiskey and graham crackers. I'm telling you, you'll be calling me back and thanking me.
Best place you've ever visited?
Best place I ever visited. You know what? This is going to be a weird one too. Tallinn, Estonia.
Wow.
Tallinn, Estonia, which is also the birthplace of Zoom, but that's another walled city. It's another cool old ancient walled city, big and it looks just like it did 500 years ago. And it was really, really cool place. I want to go back when I can spend more time.
Who's the comedian you never did a set with, but would have loved to share the stage with?
Oh, probably George Carlin. That was the first guy I ever saw live. And I got to meet him a couple of times, and he couldn't have been nicer. But to have worked with him, that would have been, oh man, that would have been an honor. And I worked with the Smothers Brothers, and that was a big deal too. But, probably George Carlin.
If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app. It's time for the back half with comedian Brad Upton. His latest comedy special is I'm Not Done Yet. Brad, how has your wife Julie helped you with coaching, comedy, and being a good dad, and with her fight with cancer?
You did your research, man. She's been so good, and she doesn't like the limelight. She doesn't like me to mention her, put pictures, and she just doesn't like that part of it. But man, always there, and she's a perfect companion. That's why we've been together for 37 years happily. And when she had cancer, man, that was a shock, because she was diagnosed the day after she gave birth to our first child. So that was the happiest day, followed by our worst day. And I knew I had to step it up right then, and I did. So I feel like I did. So I can't think. It's still, she's done way more for me than I've done for her. I promise you that.
Brad, how did your heart attack change the way you look at life and comedy?
That's a good question, too. It's made me very humble. I'm telling you, it shocked me. No one more surprised than me. And to suddenly be laying on a table with a room full of strangers trying to save your life, that's a humbling experience.
Brad, you've headlined comedy clubs all around the nation, opened for huge musical acts, and yet you never tried to work in the insanity of New York or L.A. Why was staying home in the Pacific Northwest so important for you? When I was 29 years ago, that's when my son was born. I was thinking about making that move to L.A., and I'd been going down to L.A., and I went, I don't want to come down here and raise my kids here. This is awful. I got a nice place in the suburbs in Seattle. I just couldn't do it. And I stayed at home, and it worked out pretty well. How has comedy changed you, and how have you changed comedy? I don't think I've changed comedy, but it's definitely changed me. I'll tell you, it makes me more confident that I'm funny and off stage. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't always know, and am I funny or not? But now that I know, yes, I'm funny. I can be funny in the checkout line or with the waitress or, any time like that. Even when I get pulled over, I can be funny in those situations and be confident that I'm funny. How has your comedy changed from when you started to now? Just more experiences under your belt. That's the biggest thing. I've just lived more life in the last 38 years. There's sometimes comedians when they start when they're 18 or 19 years old, they don't have anything to talk about other than getting high and watching porn. That's really all they can talk about. And that's their life experience at that point. And, with some miles under your belt, there's a lot more subjects that you can cover. Brad, what's your thoughts as a former track coach at Washington on conference realignment? That broke my heart, really, to just see the Pac-12 disintegrate. Broke my heart. And even though I coached at Washington State University is over on the other side of the state. It's very rural. It's hard to get to. And, man, they're getting screwed. I really feel sorry for Washington State and Oregon State the same way.
It's like, and how are you going to be a basketball team or a softball team where you play a regular league schedule? You got to fly coast to coast every week. That's insane to me.
How has changing lives between comedy and coaching track made you a better man?
I just think it's being away from comedy and doing track and doing real stuff and being out there standing in the rain and sometimes snow and carrying hurdles around the track. I mean, that's just, and then, sometimes 2 days later I'm in a limo and, standing out there in the rain and cold just humbles you, I think.
Brad, who's the one track champion that you still keep in touch with the most?
Oh, I got a bunch of them. That's a good question. I have a bunch of them. I have a couple of girls that were all Americans for me at the University of Washington. I stay in touch with them. They both ran in the Olympic trials in '96, and we stay in touch. And sometimes they've been to see me, but I have a bunch of track people that I stay in touch with.
So what's your favorite memory from the road?
Oh, golly. I got 38 years of stuff. Favorite memory from the road. Oh, Lord. Man, that's a good question. I don't know. Is it the whole entire thing? Is it the entire body of a career? I don't know. That's a tough question, man. I don't know if I can answer that.
Who touched your heart that isn't a family member?
Boy, that's a good one too, man. Sean, these are great questions. Who touched my heart that wasn't a family member? Well, I'll tell you what. I had a high school PE teacher that kept bugging me in PE class and told me I'd be good at track and field. And I was looking for something to be good at, and I ended up being a good track and field athlete in high school, and then ran in college. And here I am, 40 years later, still coaching. And Max Jensen, he's still alive. He's in his early 80s, and he changed my life. He really did. A teacher changed my life.
What's your personal favorite track memory from your own career?
I ran until I was 34 years old. I competed till I was 34 years old, and once I got out of college, I still competed in college meets against college athletes. You can do that in track and field, and just running and staying that good until I was 34 is my favorite memory.
Now, Brad, was there ever a joke that you really wanted to work, but no matter how hard you try, it just didn't land?
Oh, there's a bunch of those jokes. There's a whole bunch. You're just convinced that they're funny, and you try them, and you're like, I guess it's not. There's always, and then there's some that you think, this isn't that good. I'll give it a try. And it kills. So I'm not even the best judge of my own material. I leave it up to the audience.
We're going to sneak in a couple more. Brad, you once told your wife, quote, I told my wife I'm going to do this till the day I die, and when I do, just cremate me, put me in the long jump pit, stir me in there, and I'll be good, unquote. Still good with that?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's correct. I said either that or told my kids, get the car up over 100 miles an hour and put me out to the sunroof.
It's Weekend at Bernie's all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Big puff right out the top.
Does your wife travel with you on the road?
No, very rarely. She finally is retiring March 1st, so that's the plan. She's going to start going with me, but no, rarely goes with me.
How has your wife been such a strong rock for you on the road?
Oh, you're going to make me cry here on the radio. She's been wonderful. And she just always there, always the nicest, most caring, giving person. And sure makes my life easier. And I think, to be honest with you, sometimes the time apart makes things better. There's times when I'm home for a while and she's like, when do you leave again? Because I think it's ready for me to go. But, when I'm home all day. And that was the same with the kids. When the kids were little, when I was home all day. I'd get up with them. I'd make them breakfast. I'd walk them to the bus stop. And after school, I'd be at the bus stop. I'd bring them home. So I was with them all day, every day when I was home. So I got a lot of FaceTime with my kids, even though I was traveling a lot.
Mr. Mom did good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's time for One Big Question with Brad Upton Beyond the Mic. His special I'm Not Done Yet is out right now. What's the one comedy dream you still want to achieve?
Oh, boy, that's a good question. God, you got good questions, Sean. I think I've achieved it all. I really have. I don't know if I have anything out there now. That I feel like a lottery winner.
Where can people find you online?
BradUpton.com. My name, BradUpton.com. My schedule's there. links to the specials. Everything's on there that they need to know.
Brad Upton loves walled cities, misses George Carlin, and threw dodgeballs just barely over the heads of his fourth graders.
Yes, I did.
He wants you to watch his special, I'm Not Done Yet. Brad, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you, Sean. Great questions. I really appreciate it.
And that, my friends, is Beyond the Mic.